Hey man.
There we go. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Cool. Yeah, my microphone was muted for some reason.
That's okay.
Hey, quick update real quick. Mark texted me about 10 minutes ago and said he's gonna have to reschedule for
Yeah, no
today.
problem.
Um, looks like he said either Thursday he's pretty much open or Friday morning. I will say for me, I have to make some runs to Fort Lauderdale for the moving company Thursday, Friday, but I should be available like early afternoonish, so I could probably make something work on that Thursday if you do.
So like 2 o'clock, you think?
Yeah, I should be back by about 2, and if not, I'd have to jump on the phone real quick. I'll pull over on the side of the road and do what we got to do.
Let's see if 2 o'clock works and move it.
Okay. Yeah. Thursday at 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah,
Thursday
we'll
at
get Christy to move it. Just send Christy an update and she can move the calendar invite and
sounds good. Yeah, just
send it
shot him
over
a
to
text.
him.
Okay. Alrighty, I'll text him now and see what he says.
Cool. Well, I just got off the phone with Colonial. They're not going to allow us to have you as an ASR contract, which is an internal agent. So we're gonna have to do a broker contract, which is
Okay.
fine. So we'll do that. We'll get that dropped and make sure everybody's good to go on that. The way that's gonna work is I'm gonna have my office on a weekly basis start sending you about 20 leads out of that system, so you can start working that plan. So
Okay.
we'll work together and start getting those leads inside of Active Freedom for you, so you can hit. I think that'll be a good, that'll give you, by week, 80 to 100 leads every month, and then you can kind of
Right.
start mining that along with the list you've already created. I think that'll be really good. And so then we just have to get really good getting censuses, or just in general life insurance. So if we can get those two things going, those are going to be immediate cash for you
Okay.
in your pocket. So that's the ideal situation. Once you get those two things down, we'll kind of expand the territory a little bit. But
Okay. Yeah, that's my next step I've been trying to get to is just getting a hold of somebody to get that census, making my calls and shooting out emails and texts through the Act of Freedom and haven't had much action yet, but obviously with the moving thing, I can't really dedicate. I think that's what I'm struggling with most now, just time management probably more than anything, is just trying to do the right thing, but I also just want to jump ship and just dedicate all my time here. Like I just don't know what the right choice to make is. Should I keep getting a paycheck as long as I can, or do I just take a bet on myself and you know shoot for the
no,
stars?
no. How long do you have?
It keeps going back and forth, but I keep saying probably now it's about a month, 4 weeks or so.
No, I'd keep writing it and just do this. Like set aside. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that's looking like for you. What's your hours looking like right now?
I mean, to be honest, it's pretty much wide open for whatever I need to make it, which is nice. But at the same time, my uncle, again, just he's not very involved, and he's the type of person that he won't say something, he'll let his anger build up, and then boom, explode. And, that's I'm just kind of on the edge about that happening. So I'm just kind of trying to plan. But I mean, at this point too, I think he's understanding of I'm losing a job, and to start a new one, I'm gonna have to give it some time. So it's kind of just that gray area that we're in right now. But yeah, I mean, as far as scheduling wise, like my dad's my manager, but we kind of just do everything together, and he's all on game for whatever you need to do, go do it.
Um, so I would set up a schedule
Okay.
for yourself for the next month and maybe do 2 hours a day or something somewhere in your calendar to see if you
Okay.
can make that work. That way you can create some consistency for yourself. Just find that 2 hours, like create like an ideal week. And if you've got to move that somehow because you've got a moving job, like what you just said, like yeah, Thursday and Friday you're gonna be doing this moving thing. Yeah, I get it, man. So like just see what you can do on an ideal week situation. I mean, if it's in the mornings, or if it's in the later afternoons, you can kind of find that. Just try to set aside 2 hours a day to prospect and set up appointments.
Okay.
If they can't meet on those times, let me know, and we'll try to work around their schedule to get it scheduled because that's what you have an office for.
For sure.
So we'll work through the next 4 weeks or so plus. to get you through to start getting some results. But without an ideal week, you won't commit to doing what you need to do. So that's the way I'd recommend doing that is just bite-sized chunks. I mean, if it needs to be an hour a week, maybe it just needs to be an hour a week right now. I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me where that's at, and we'll try to work with you on getting there. But you can prospect. Oh, you saw how much we could
Yeah.
prospect
Yeah, I
in
think
an
I could
hour,
definitely
man.
do the 2 hours for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, see, I mean, how quickly we went out that first day, we were able to hit so many business, especially in an area like that. If I just went out there for 2 hours and went hard at it, I could hit probably realistically 20, 30 or more, you know. So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I'm at the
Getting
point now
that
where,
getting that under your belt, going back, visiting, getting the hold of the decision maker, like that's just the work that you
right,
do to get that result. And once that starts to happen, those things are going to start to drop and fall. And as that starts to happen, you're going to get policies here and there, insurance policies that's going to pay for stuff. I mean, it'll be good. So
okay. All right. Yeah, I think that's a good piece I was missing, just kind of dedicating, like you said, those 2 hours, block everything else. And then I think I've been trying to balance everything all at the same time, and it's just, I'm realizing
no,
it's not working.
yeah, don't do that. That's brain damage.
Yeah. It's like, no, I can do it for a few days, maybe a week, but then I just get to that burnout point and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do anything.
Like, yeah, just set yourself. It's just like exercise, man. A little bit like, setting aside, an hour, 2 hours a day over time creates you an unstoppable force. Like it's like that's just the way it is. It's just little chunks of time over time. And then, when it comes time to it, then we can dedicate more time. But if you'll just, I mean, I got guys making 60, $70,000 a year part time.
Wow.
So, I mean, you'll get there. I mean, I'm not worried about getting there. It's just you gotta time manage and just say, okay, here's where I'm at. And if something happens to where, okay, look, all day today, I can't touch it. We'll make it up. Like it's like a bank account. Like I'm committing to 2 hours a day. Man, I didn't get to do anything that well. That's a withdrawal from your education bank account on what you need to do next. So you
Agreed.
might just say, okay, look, this week was scrap. I got to start over again with my ideal week. You just got to keep tweaking it until you get it down.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
if
that
you
makes
get
a
in
lot of
that
sense.
habit now, when the job does leave, it'll be easy to transition.
Yeah, I think that's what I was searching for, just to make the transition the easiest and the smoothest.
Yeah, don't give up on the job. I mean, you're helping them out, obviously, still, and they need your help. So I'm not that guy. I'm not going to tell you to jump ship. That doesn't make sense. That's guaranteed money.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, you may still want to do something on the side. I mean, and that's okay too. I mean, dude, I've got 60 companies. Like, so
Right.
I'm not the guy that just sits and does nothing, and I don't see you as that guy either. So this is an independent business. It's going to take a little bit to get off the ground, but I'm telling you right now, like done right, you won't have to do anything else if you don't want.
Right.
So,
And that's what I
um,
see too.
yeah, I mean, dude, you could start your own moving company once you get enough residual income. You just then hire people to do it. I mean, you could do it yourself. I mean, so there's something to say about that as well. So I'm not. I mean, that's where you came from. So that might be something in you that you're just like, man, I'll just start my own thing and make it
Right.
happen. Buy a
Yeah.
truck,
And I did some
hire
side work this
hire
weekend.
people. I mean, you could do it. Hire your dad, like let him do what he keeps wanting to do. Like, I mean, it could happen. I'm just saying, like that's something that could happen. So
Yeah.
maybe you do, maybe you don't want to do it. I mean, I here just as an example, man, I like retired my parents. Like at some point, I was just we had enough residual coming in, and I was like, you know what, you guys just stay home. I got this.
That's awesome.
So that's the kind of you just have to dream a little bit, and if you keep that dream in front of you every day, um, that's important. Like because the days where you feel like depressed or like I'm overwhelmed or I'm frustrated, if you don't look at that every day, every morning, it's going to be hard to it's going to be hard to
Motivated.
overcome some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've lost sight of a dream for such a long time. I just got stuck, like I've told you forever, just behind that wall. So now I was talking with the wife about that. Was that we were doing date night Friday, and I just thought I said I think I might need to do like a dream board, like an actual video, hang up right here in my bathroom in the closet where I wake up every day, and it's just fresh on the mind. Like I talk about it a lot, I know what I want to do, but like you said, it's easy to kind of wake up one day, it's not fresh on the brain, and then you're kind of just blah for the rest of that time. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too. That's kind of just reiterating what I was already kind of anticipating.
Yeah, and stuff of this is gonna happen. Like Mark moving to Thursday. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
like this stuff's gonna kind of happen. So like that's when you never show your last appointment, because the minute you don't have another appointment booked, then that appointment has rule over you, and it does
Right,
stuff to your brain that's not okay. So if you have 4 or 5 appointments a week, one person saying no, two persons saying no, hey, I still got two more, three more like I'm doing this week. So when you create that type of a schedule, even with short amount of time, I mean, if you're only doing 2 hours a day, I mean, you still have 10 hours worth of possible appointments or possible meetings that you can have that can drastically change the way the week looks, can drastically change the way the month looks. So that's your key is it's like I said, it's pump you get the pump going and you constantly get that pipeline going. And as the pipeline continues, you're building residual and you're building chunks of cash coming into your bank. Once you
right,
do that, then you feel pretty secure. Like that's
right,
that's what you want to get. You want to get to the point to where like, oh, well, here's what residual is looking like. Here's what I know I can do based on, what I've done in the last few weeks or months. Like I can keep doing that, and that's totally possible.
right.
So yeah, so as far as training goes, I mean, we can go through anything you want to go through. If you want to go through Active Freedom again, or I don't know what other kind of training that you do want to go through, but I can walk you through some more life insurance training if you want.
Yeah.
Which,
I
or we
mean, if you
can.
have anything new that we haven't touched on quite yet, I was just yesterday more worried about not joining that, but you kind of cleared my head, meaning that it's not applicable at this moment just yet. So, I mean, whatever information you have to want to share that maybe we haven't covered yet, I'm wide open.
It'll be good for you to just meet the team and see how we work on Monday. So that'll be good as well. But I'm like yesterday I went over auto insurance for both
Mm.
business and personal lines. So you would have, I mean, you don't have the license yet, and then at the same time, you probably would have been like, wow, that's really good information, but maybe not applicable to me right now. So, and that's the way it is sometimes when I'm doing training like that. I wrote this like I wrote this book, and I'm referencing the book, but the life insurance side, like this Life for Life book, this is the 10 ways that life insurance can help. I'm actually in the process. I was telling my guys that I wanted to go ahead and create a few 2-minute videos on these uh 10 reasons to plan with life insurance. I'm going to go ahead and create those. I may even work on them today and get those knocked out to where we've got that one video that explains, it's more of a detailed operation type video that people can see. But I thought it'd be good to create like a series of 10 2-minute videos that people can like watch through to understand the different reasons and what the reason you would plan with life insurance, so people understand how those different reasons work into either their personal or business lives. And that could be really helpful as well. And so we can do that, and then obviously recommend um, just engaging with us to go through those solutions. So I can go through those with you. I'm going to create the videos, but did you get this book?
Let me see my spec here. No, not the life of life. I just wrote it down here on my paper though to get.
Yeah, we need to get you that book. It's super quick, easy to read. It's like 130 pages. I mean, it's super fast and easy, but
Yeah.
like here are the 10 reasons. I don't know if you can see them or not.
Yeah. Yep, I see it.
So it's protecting families, living benefits, college planning, getting out of debt, creating your own bank, replacing income and cash flow, planning for final expenses and leaving a family plan, creating a plan to retire tax free, maximizing your pension, advanced business concepts, creating an asset on a balance sheet, and then leaving a legacy.
Mm.
So these are the 10 actual solutions that I do differently with life insurance. So if somebody says, well, I need to get life insurance, most of them are thinking I'm just protecting my family. They think of the first option. They don't think of the other 9.
Mm.
And so, and they don't know, it's not educated, that they've never heard about it, they don't understand it. So like that's part of the educational process that we can provide. I do it with clients all the time. High net worth clients usually understand about it, or maybe they've heard about it before, or they've had family members that have done it. But these are things that we can make open and available to general public knowledge. And so each one of these is a course in and of itself, but it's fast. So I can do in 2 minutes on each topic, which is kind of it'll be a really nice little 20-minute webinar if we put it together, or it's little snippets
Right.
of 2 minutes that people can just kind of get on their own. So I'm going to build that out, but I'm going to give you the structure of it so you can kind of get the feel for each one of the things.
Okay.
And I'm just going to give you the highlights so that you know enough to be dangerous. You'll use the book because the book is leverage. You know, third party credibility is always something that's fantastic, and I don't mind. I mean, we can hand these out, you know, and go get them and get them back. You know, like, hey, will you
Right.
read this? You know, and then it gives you a way to get. You know, if you get with that's a way for you to get into the door as well. Like, hey, I need to drop a book off to you.
Yeah.
And you can walk in there and say, you know, like, hey, you know, I need to get your census. I want to look at some other stuff, but hey, will you read this? Because if you will, I'll come back and grab it from you. It's really short. It's super easy. It's got pictures. It's fantastic. Like, I'll come and get this next week. Does that sound good? It gets you back in the door, right? Like it's
Right.
a way to come back and get your material. So I'm willing to pay for some of those to get those, you know, in the hands of the decision makers, which I think they'll really enjoy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I've got some 2-minute videos they can watch as cliff notes, because everybody learns differently. Some people can read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. You know, so we can create all of those platforms for people to gather the information, which might be really good. So we can do that.
Awesome.
So I'll go through the 10 real quick with you. It'll be
Okay.
faster than obviously because you can get the feel for it. So, and I want it to be interactive. So like I'm just going to ask you questions to get your initial thought from each one of them, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So the first one, when you hear protecting families, that's one way to use life insurance. What do you think of? Like what
I
happens
would
in your
say, you know, protecting families would probably mean, you know, in the downfall of the life insurance holder, you know, that it wouldn't maybe crumble them financially, planning for a funeral or an estate, covering an estate that might have some debt left on it or something like that.
Yep. So those are so the final expenses is usually an after effect, planning all of that as well. That's an option that people don't even think about. They try to get the money, but they've not actually planned it out. So then it's stressful on the family. So I actually provide that as another alternative, something to think about. So I'll talk about that in one of the other things. But you're right,
Okay.
is all about replacing debt and income.
Mhm.
So that's usually what people are worried about. Um, they want number one to replace their income for their family, and number two, they don't want them burdened with debt.
Right.
And so usually that's how we plan. That's the first thing we do, and we do that with the least expensive option that we have, which is term life insurance. And so that's the solution we provide, and we go and find the least expensive within their budget so that they can solve that risk in their life so they don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
So usually that's it. 10 times income and debt. That's usually the number I work with. It's usually a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 30-year, depending on what their budget is and what they want to cover it for how long. And we try to do that with a carrier that they can convert later to, because if you just do it with the cheap, have a good permanent product,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't necessarily provide them with the best option, because most people don't know that when you are protecting your family, if you do it with the right carrier, you can do a viatical settlement with that term policy, a business owner can buy that policy from them and pay them if they don't need it anymore.
Oh, wow.
So it becomes an investment. Most people think term life insurance is just a big waste of money, but it's not. If you do it with the right company and it's getting ready to expire, a company can come alongside of them and say, hey, why don't you renew that for another 10 years? At the end of 10 years, I, as an investor, unfortunately, I know you're going to die. It's going to happen.
Mhm.
So I'm going to invest in that policy on your behalf so you don't have to pay for it anymore. And I'm going to pay you something for that policy.
Wow.
So when you die, guess what I get?
The rest of that term. Yeah. Wow. That's huge.
So that is a specific one line item on protecting families. That's number one. Number two, the second one there in the book is living benefits and college planning. I combine those together because they're really both industries in and of themselves. And this is where I usually ask people, do you have life insurance? And they say, yeah, I've already got life insurance. And I say, well, have you heard of the new life insurance? And most people are like, what do you mean?
Right.
I said, well, most new life insurance policies have what's called living benefits. And we talk about college planning if you need it, but very specifically, living benefits allows you to get paid from your life insurance policy if something happens to you while you're alive, specifically like long-term care, or you get a chronic illness that you can't recover from for some reason.
Right.
So living benefits can replace long-term care, which is huge. Like you're going to get your death benefit, a portion of your death benefit for long-term care is a fantastic way to not lose. Like buying long-term care insurance, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, we can buy long-term care riders and benefits through the life insurance policy. That way, if you don't use the long-term care, you still get the death benefit, right?
Right.
So it's a dual purpose on the living benefits. The other thing is a chronic illness. And here's a story. Had a guy up in Michigan, had a younger, he's younger, had a young family, and he recently passed away.
Oh, wow.
He had an aneurysm. We didn't know it was going to happen, but the aneurysm, he was alive for probably 3 months. Like they thought that he might recover, but he was brain dead, so they let him go.
Mm.
But in that time frame, we were negotiating with the insurance company because we had a living benefit on the life insurance that they could advance the death benefit as a chronic illness because he was incoherent. So we could advance the death benefit now to help the family out while he's still alive. So two benefits on living benefits: one, long-term care for, if you need it. The other is the chronic illness, and that chronic illness happens as well. So that's two. The third one is waiver of premium. So that's a disability play. So if somebody gets disabled and they can no longer pay for their life insurance, if you put the waiver of premium on there on a life insurance policy, they no longer have to pay the premium. It's a big deal.
Oh, wow.
So those are the three things on the living benefits. Most people don't even know those exist. Now
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about college planning. I'm just going to mention it. It's a whole system in and of itself. But in college planning, when someone files for the FAFSA, the federal student aid, for student aid, right?
Right.
Federal application for student aid. That's what FAFSA is. When they file that, all assets that exist inside of a life insurance policy do not get counted against the FAFSA. Moving money into a life insurance policy or annuity can make a lot of sense if you're trying to qualify for financial aid, if you're on the cusp of being able to do that to get that extra.
Right.
So that's a way that we can actually help them college plan, right? So that's number two. Number three is getting out of debt. I think I've talked to you about this one. This is a very specific whole life policy that we use. I don't even really talk about the whole life in general. I just say, hey, here's the thing I've memorized. This is something that you could memorize as well. If I could show you how to get out of debt in 9 years or less, including your mortgage, without paying anything extra, would you be interested?
It's a big line right there.
So if I could show you how to get out of debt in 9 years or less, including your mortgage, without spending anything extra, would you be interested?
Gotcha.
How do you do that? You know, is usually the question. Well, let's set up a
Right.
meeting. I'm gonna show you how we do it, and you just get an appointment that way.
Okay.
Those policies are you're gonna make $1,000 to $2,000 every time you do one of those.
Wow. And
So yeah, it's awesome.
that one you did yesterday that you quoted, and you said it was a $4 million. Is that a whole life or is that a term?
That was just
Yeah.
term. That was protecting their business. So I mean,
Oh,
it's another one of these list items that I have down that I'll work with you on. So I kind of we
right.
just talked about getting out of debt. That's a whole system in and of itself. Again, like I'm telling you, like you could create a lifestyle out of any one of these 10. I'm explaining them to you so you know all the different verticals that you can use with life insurance.
Right.
The next one is creating your own safe, secure, and trusted bank. Um, this is a big deal. So as someone creates a whole life policy, a bank, because technically, as you're putting money in the policy, when it's designed correctly, that cash is in the policy, yours as if you had it a bank account, like you have access to it like a bank account. Now, because you have that cash in there, you carry a death benefit, which is an asset. That asset then is proven by the insurance company that you took the policy out with, that because you have that asset, they're willing to loan you at an amortized interest the amount of cash that is inside your policy, but at the same time not taking it out so that you can still earn interest on it. So by having your own bank, you're effectively using your money twice, which you're going to see in some of these other options, but creating it is important. So even with $100 a month, $200 a month, this is your savings plan. Like everybody should have one of these.
Yeah.
It's a way to put money away. It's a way to create an emergency fund. It's a way to eventually do other things with it. I had a very young couple teaching. They got a hold of me early. I think they were in their 20s. They both independently started putting $150 into their policy. 4 years later, at this point, they both individually have $7,000 in their policies.
Wow.
And they're like, I didn't realize that was going to happen. I'm like, yeah, that's how compound interest works. Like,
Right.
like the amount of money you put in versus the amount of, I mean, it's been fantastic. And so they're all excited about it. And I said, well, hey, you guys could pull your money and go buy a car right now if you want to, and loan it to yourself and then pay yourself back and then make your policies even bigger. You're your own bank at this point.
Wow. That's
Oh,
awesome.
wait, do you need a small house down payment? Now they've got $12,000. Maybe like on an FHA loan, that's $10,000. You can go buy a house now. I mean, these are really cool things with small amounts of money that over time make a big difference. You're creating your own bank.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
that's number 4. That's an option. Those pay well, and you're helping the client out because they didn't know
Right.
existed. Replacing income and cash flow. So this is another one. So this is a very specific situation that we had because we had a bank type situation. We had an airline pilot in California. He was putting, I mean, he had a pretty good income. He was putting $4,000 a month into his policy, and he'd been doing that for about 2 years.
Wow.
So he had a good $90,000 in cash in the policy. When COVID hit, guess what happened to all the airline pilots?
I don't know. Out of work.
So he got to use.
All that money that he had put in that 4,000 a month. Wow.
So that literally replaced his income and his cash flow. And so here's what we immediately did. He couldn't pay the $4,000 a month into his policy anymore. So on a policy like that, we've got it designed specifically to we can take. We can say, look, it's okay. We can put this policy on autopilot. It's only going to cost you $200 a year.
Wow.
So we erased what was going to have to go in there because he's got the cash in there. It doesn't. He doesn't have to pay anything right now.
Right.
He immediately started taking monthly checks out of his policy. Immediately got his job back. He's flying again. Guess what he did?
You start putting back in, paying himself back. Wow.
So he effectively replaced his income cash flow situation because
Right.
so that's number 5. I've got some stories around how to do
That's
that.
awesome.
So, yep. Depending on like business and family plan, this is the one you talked about earlier, but this is a very specific. Like, I don't talk about it as okay, you've got some extra money to do this. We actually want to do this. Like we want to provide family when that's ready to happen. Like, do you have your will ready? Do you have your estate plan ready? Have you planned the funeral so that your family doesn't have to figure that out? Like,
Right.
have you done all of those things? We actually have a funeral trust that they can put cash into that pre-plans all of that. Like, they pick the casket, they pick the urn, they pick how the thing is gonna go. Like the whole thing. Like they plan it all out, and then they give that as a book to their family.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Like,
Right.
I mean, anybody that can do that, they should. And it provides an amazing set. Like, family isn't like not only having to think of all that, but
Just breathe.
it's a big
Wow.
deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
So that's number 6. Okay, number 7, cancer free, maximizing your pensions. Okay, so there's 2 levels to this. Some people that are already in the workforce, they're using tax shelters. So they either have a Roth IRA probably, or they may have a matching program. They have a traditional IRA, and so this is money that's not being taxed. They'll have to pay taxes on later. So we want to maximize that pension, and the way we do that is if they start a life insurance policy, the way a retirement can work on a life insurance policy is just like the bank we talk about. As that cash grows, it's growing tax-free. Now, you've already paid taxes on the money going in. Right. As it grows, we tell them exactly what's going to be in it. Like, we know like what the tax is going to look at 65 or 66.
Right.
Guess what happens? So if you were to take money at 65, would you rather take tax-free money or taxable money?
I would say tax-free at 65.
So we just effectively maximize retirement. So let's say, on Social Security, like for us, maybe it'll be there, maybe it won't. But maybe the 50-year-olds right now are thinking, gosh, if I could throw $30,000 a year in a 16 years, I'll get so now I take my
Right.
Now I can push home taking money out of my IRA to pay taxes on. Now I can offset, so I can maximize my pension with a tool in life insurance.
Right.
And plus it's tax-free retirement. So I'm not taking cash out of my policy, I'm taking loans. So there's no tax. I'm taking a loan for myself, and I don't have to pay those loans back. Guess what's going to pay the loans back?
New Social Security once you start collecting. No.
When I die, the death benefit on my policy pays those off, takes what's left, and gives it to beneficiaries.
Wow.
I know. So that so everybody that I tell these things to, they do the exact same thing you just did. So that's number 7. That's maximizing pensions and retiring tax free. Okay, now there's a multitude. Number 8 contains like 6. So I just said a multitude of advanced business concepts, right? Like that's idea that we want to focus on business. And so the business can do a number of things with life insurance. It can create retirement plans, define benefit plans, center these ideas in the business, right? So those are all advanced concepts. Is usually putting a cash life insurance policy on an individual. That the longer they're there, the more they're vested and the more they can use it. So a key person policy says to that person, hey, you're a key person here. I want you to stay, so I'm going to do this on your behalf.
Right.
And an executive benefit is, hey, as the company grows, I want you to grow, so we're going to put some of those puts into an executive benefit, and you're going to have that perpetual something you can afford to.
Right.
There's all the group, we talk about group, offer group life insurance to the whole. And also, the complete eventually, you talk about this. So this is kind of a cash flow play, but it's pretty awesome too. So when you're in a business, if you were in a moving business right now, which you might know something about, if you needed a truck, how would you get a truck?
Typically, go to the bank or to our, what do you call it? We have like a corporation go to get a loan and go buy a truck.
Yep. So imagine this. What if over time you built up enough cash in a policy to loan to yourself to buy a truck?
That would be ideal.
So here's what happens. This is what's so cool about it. When the money's in the policy, it stays in the policy and it grows compound. If you go get money from a bank, what happens? It's an immediate just loan. Like you're paying the interest and you're paying the bank back. If you develop enough cash inside the policy, now you can go to the insurance company and say, okay, I want a loan. You give me the loan, but my cash still sits over here working inside the policy. So I get the loan from the insurance company, just like I would have got a loan from a bank, and I'm paying interest to the insurance company, but there's this cash over there. So in general, as a banker, and I pay myself back like a loan would, and I pay back into my policy while I'm paying off the insurance company, I'm both growing my cash in the policy and paying down my loan at the same time. So what's happening?
You're growing your money again, right?
You're growing your money in the policy,
right.
You're paying down your loan, and you're getting both to work at the same time. All at the same time, you're using your money twice. So this becomes an asset on a balance sheet. Now, I just talked about trucks. What about normal expenses in a business?
Right.
Because they pay for payroll taxes. They pay for property taxes usually. They pay for, I mean, all of the expenses that somebody would normally have, you can start saving for and start paying them out of your policy and rotating that cash through the policy, therefore making your policy bigger and bigger and bigger as you cash flow your business.
Right.
It's huge.
Yeah. Amazing. It really
so that's
for a business like that, you know.
Yeah. So rather than have a bank account, it makes sense to, I mean, you can have a bank account, obviously, but it's better to run your profit through the life insurance policy because you're getting compound interest on that cash. You loan it back to yourself, loan it to yourself.
Yeah, going anywhere.
And the other thing, it completes the process. If you die sometime in the process, like you just paid your business back with death benefit. Like you go take life insurance out, you don't get that. Like that doesn't self-complete unless you do it, right?
Right.
And then the last one, the number 10, and I hate it that I put it number 10. I wish it was number 1. But it's leaving a legacy. And so life insurance done well can happen on multiple different ways. One way is family, right? So leaving a legacy can be done through family planning. So you can do it top down or bottom up. And what I mean by that is maybe the grandparents want to leave money, so they put death benefit on themselves. It goes to their family. Or they might want to plant seeds of cash into the future generation. So they might want to buy policies on their kids and grandkids to money so they can use it. It's like creating little banks. Like
Right.
the other option is the kids may have money to put money on the parents. So this is another way to do it. So like, if you got some older parents, they're pretty healthy, but and you can, if everybody in the family, all the kids pulled together $100 a month and you had 5 kids, that's $500 a month. What's that life insurance policy going to look like?
It'll be substantial.
And they split it in 5 ways when they pass.
Right.
So that's legacy planning, like whether it's the elders top down or the younger top up. That's what I'm talking about when creating that plan. But then at the same time, it's specifically creating plans around giving. And what I mean by that is, people generally want to create value. They want to be known for something. They want to leave something. Life insurance is one of those. Like the insurable insurance, life insurance policy can be any, but you want to. So, like, say for instance, the church.
Right.
Take a life insurance policy out on themselves, and when they die, where can the proceeds go?
Right, to the church. Yeah.
Any type of charity, any type of giving opportunity, you pay a small amount for what you can give them in return upon your passing, like as a legacy gift, right? It's a big deal. We also do charitable remainder trusts as well, which can be like an annuity type of situation, to where, like, if somebody got enough money, they don't know what to do with it, and they don't have anybody to leave it to, and they want to leave some of it to a church or an organization. You can take that, put it into a trust. They get the write-off. They still get a monthly payment for retirement, but then whatever's left over then goes to the organization that they want it to go to. That's another legacy play. So, man, hey, like, I know I downloaded you on a whole bunch right now, but that's the license that you just got. Like, you have like this amazing unlimited possibility on multiple different verticals that you'll learn how to do. But now that you have it planted in you, I mean, you can reference this book, and you can tell people about it, and then, hey, just read after whatever. Like, I don't have to be the expert. We are. Here it is. Right. And you can use the book as a tool based on someone's need. What's their pain point? Well, most people are pain point is that protecting families, but then it's all the other 10 things that they'll start to think about when they become more successful. Like, okay, I need to think about these other things, right?
Right.
So I think that's probably good enough for today. I know I downloaded you on a whole lot, but hopefully that gives you some perspective on what we have our hands on just with the life insurance piece. Lots, like, people just make a living off of one of those. Like, some people, that's all they do.
Right.
I mean, this last month we wrote over $20,000 in protection type premium.
Wow.
So that tells you, like, at our office, I wasn't really even involved. We produced well over 10,000 in commissions just on the normal basis of doing the protection. So I'm saying that, like, all of these other things, and that people need to know about it. So I'm going to create some content around it so people understand it, and they might be specifically interested in one over the other. But specifically in business owners, like, since we're going into business owners, that's going to be really, like, those categories are going to be really good as you start to get in there and we start to look at their group benefits, get a census, and then, we can ask these questions like, well, who's your key employees? Have you done anything for them yet? Have you created a bank for your business yet? Like, have you done, like, they're all going to be like, what are you talking about?
Right. And then they start asking you the questions.
So that's how that's going to start to go. That's why I want to focus on groups, because you're going to cover probably all 10 of these with a group, with a business. Like, you're going to be able to cover all 10 of these. most business owners are going to have a concern or a need somewhere in their mind around all these. Now, they might be overwhelmed by thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to have 10 different policies. No, usually we can create the plan with 2 or 3 possibly. Like you might want to have one specifically for living benefits. You might want to have one just for your business bank. You might want to have one just for your personal protection. Like those are 3, possible opportunities that you would have 3 different policies. But then if they're a bigger company, they're going to have you might get more policies, but they're not necessarily related to you. They might be related to. So I know sure, like I'm lower policies associated with all of it, like well over 100. Wow. If that tells you anything. I mean, so it's just the Swiss. I think you're seeing now. It's the Swiss Army knife of financial stewardship. Done well, it's the Swiss Army knife. Now, the objection is Dave Ramsey says don't invest in permanent life insurance. 80 to 90% of the time, he is correct because the products that are available to most agents, 80 to 90% of them, are not like the policies that we're showing them.
Right.
So that's one of the objections you're going to get. I handle it in here. So that's why it's so good to have this book because, they're going to have that objection and it's on page 23. I go through rumor, hearsay, and popular opinion. Like handle all of those. Like here it is right here.
Right.
Buy term and invest the rest. I literally lay that out.
I see.
So it's all like any objection that somebody would have over talking more, I've probably heard them.
Right. You got some kind of rebuttal to get back.
But at the same time, a mind convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. And that's why home runs are fewer than strikes. Is because some people you just won't be able to convince, some people you will, and the ones that you will, they're going to refer others to you and recommend you, and that's where it's going to lead.
Right.
So we just need some traction. Once we get traction, we'll use those testimonials and say, hey, we did this for somebody else, got a great result. What do you want? And we've already got those. So you can use our testimonial results to get you started. Your own, but creating your own is a big deal because once you start doing that, then it builds on itself. You create your own brand inside of our brand, which just makes it stronger.
Right, and then I'll start feeling a little more confident when I can start closing a few more deals and walk into somebody with a testimonial of my own, like, hey, I personally did this for somebody,
So your job right now is to be really good at using me.
Okay.
Like, hey, I want you to meet Josh.
Yeah. And that was my first line to Mark. Say, hey, I'm more than willing to help you out. I'm very green right now, as they say. So I'm gonna have to for Josh or for Josh or like thing. But as long as you're willing to be patient with me, we can definitely take care of you. So.
Yep. Right. Yeah. So it'll be that for a while. I mean, that's the way it needs to be until you get to the point to where, and gosh, I mean, I still have agents bringing me in on stuff. Like I just got a call earlier. Like, guy's been with me for 10 years. This. I'm like, oh yeah, good question. And so I'm not always the guy that knows every answer, but I know the people that have them. Being in the field this long, like I can, even if it's something I've never seen before, like that happens randomly. Not as often anymore, but I think at this point, we just want to be a really good resource for people so that they know what their options are. Most people don't know these options.
Right.
But I mean, you see the power in a 20-year-old couple putting $150 a month away, and now you've got this bank, and like they're like, and it was crazy because they didn't even really know it. I explained it all to them. They just kind of waited 3 years, didn't do anything with it. It was just kind of sitting in the background, and they're saying, hey, we wanted to use that out of debt, but we didn't do anything you said to do, but we just kept paying it. And what do you think we ought to do? And I'm like, well, I mean, you've got a pretty nice bank sitting here. And they're like, what do you mean? They weren't reading their statements. They were doing hilarious. And I'm like, you got $15,000 sitting over here, guys. Like, it's just sitting here for you to use.
Right.
They're like, what? I'm
It
like,
kind of
yeah,
needs to be used.
$150. You add up the money, like, and the compound interest you're getting every year. Like, you guys did an amazing job. And they were just like dumbfounded. Like, okay, so
Right.
what should we do? I'm like, well, you said you were gonna get out of debt, so let's do that first, and then maybe, are you trying to buy a house or anything like that? Oh yeah, yeah, we want to buy a house, and I'm like, oh, let's not get out of debt right now. Let's look at this as a down payment and pay yourself back. Get the loan. Let's get that going. Now
Right.
that you've got a house, now let's start over again, build that cash back, and get out of debt. So
Yeah.
it's fun, right?
I mean, myself, I think that's good. I need to start building up right now.
And it's a great way to learn too, like buying your own stuff for sure. Like you get paid on it, so it's kind of
Right.
cool. So buying your own stuff does make a lot of sense. So you got like do a small policy just so you know how it works. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great way to. Well, I do this myself, right? Like
Right.
it's another good way to do it. So
Yeah, I was thinking about that for the what are we doing here? The leaving a legacy thing and the what is it? Final expenses. I've got my wife's grandfather and my grandfather both kind of. One of them just had their whole intestine taken out. The other one's had a couple strokes recently. So, and I've had my grandmother, and then her mom's been asking me about all of these different options, and I'm like, I should be learning something here soon. So once you start reading that out, this might be a perfect kind of plug and play.
yeah, we set up meetings and talk to about it and see what kind of options they have now. If they're currently doing what they want to do. Like that's where it's at. As independent agents, this is what's so fantastic. We're solutions based, not product based. And what I mean by that is most insurance agents are having one,
Right.
like they've got this sword. This requirement is a hoe or a bow and arrow or like they don't have all the tools that they need in the tool belt to complete the task. And so they come in with a product and they say, here, let me fit this round peg in your square hole. Hold still.
Right.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so when you ask the question like that, well, here are some options that we've explored. Here are the things that we can show you. Which one sounds like makes the most sense to you? Like which one is the most important to you? Okay, based on that, let's go down that direction. Okay, now we go find the solution.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was talking. I've just been kind of big verbal with everybody, all my friends, family, just whoever you were. Can you get in touch with HR? And I was talking to my cousin. He said they had a guy recently. I can't remember if it was from Allstate or Geico, one of the bigger companies, and he was literally walking around as the guys were working. Hey, just so you know, one out of four guys dies before blah 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 or catches this disease. Like you need to sign up for this plan to cover yourself, and almost going in with a scare tactic. And I'm like, sounds like such a horrible way to be selling a product. But like you say, when you're locked into just having that one tool or drawing a square peg into a circle hole, you kind of don't. Your options are limited. So that's what I was telling him is like if you come with a rebuttal or say, oh, I have this covered. Okay, well, how about I can offer this and offer this? Like it's very nice. Like we've spoken of, just having a whole options of everything. Like you almost don't have to say no to anything.
Right. No, you don't. You just take it in and say, okay, what is the most important? Like, what's your main pain point? Let's start with that, and then we can add some of these other things in. But let's hit your main pain point first. Once you do that, it's like petting a dog for the first time, right? Like,
Right.
like the dog's like who are you? You're a stranger. Like, I don't know. Like, hey, listen, I got a treat here. Like, this is gonna be like you want this? Yes, let me pet you. Like, this is awesome. It's
Right.
a relationship. So you trust me. Now we've done this little. We did the Scooby snack. Like, this is great. You're feeling good about that. Like, here are the other options if you want to explore them. If not, no big deal. Just refer me to somebody else. I'm good. Like, if you don't want to do anything else, no big deal. But like, let me help you with your main pain. Then you move on, and like maybe next year you hey, here are options that maybe your pain points. Are any of these your pain points? Ah, no, I'm good. Okay, great. Do you know anything?
Right.
You just constantly just work your relationships and create relationships, create friends, create community.
Right.
And then one day you'll turn around and be like, wow, look what
Yeah.
happened. Like it's the parable of the sower, man. Like literally what we do is that. Like
Right.
your giftedness You know, the parable of the sower, parable like sowing, like we're planting seeds. It's if it's the different type of soil ground, or it could be the parable of the talents. Like you're gaining like you're gaining education, therefore increasing your talent. Now the question is, what are you going to do with it? Like,
Right.
do you sit on it and then does it go well, or do you multiply?
Keep watching it.
Yeah, this is all scriptural type stuff.
Agreed.
And I think it'd be good, and just recommending this, as a business owner, is just pray over the harvest.
Hmm.
You're going to throw seeds, get up every morning and pray over the harvest.
Yes, sir.
I mean, pray over what you're doing. Let God create, like he's gonna make you struggle.
Oh yeah. I'm in it
Because
right now. If anything.
that's what's gonna happen. And just know that that's gonna happen and realize, thank you, God, for the struggle. What do you
Right.
want me to learn?
Right.
I've been there. We've all been there. That's part of it. But if you know it in advance, that's all the power.
Mm.
In charge, and that he's promised us blessing as long as we stay consistent and honor him.
Right.
And so I'm not a prosperity gospel guy. Like I don't like it's not okay, give and you get it back. Like that's not me.
Yeah.
Like it's all God's anyway. And
Right.
so we are literally planting seed for the kingdom. And some of these things we have direct correlation into someone's heart when they say, hey, I want to leave a legacy to do this. Like we specifically had to have a vehicle to do that, like, which is unbelievable that we've got that
Awesome.
tool. And it's a big deal. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. That's I've been kind of lacking on that. I need to start praying over this whole situation. Again, I kind of fall back, call it being a man or being prideful or whatever, but just want to bear everything and fix it all myself. But again, that's why I just started getting back into church and being involved. Is I can't handle it anymore. So yeah, that's and going back to the struggle, I'm almost starting to enjoy that, and enjoy the process of, obviously I want the end results. I want to start making a bunch right now, right away. But if I'm thinking long term, to be successful for a long term and not just get that quick cash, I need to go through this struggle and I need to learn all these 10 steps and all the other products, kind of one by one. So it's going to be the long game, but that's what I'm really starting to get excited for. I start to see that light at the end of the tunnel almost.
Right. It's awesome.
So,
Well,
yeah.
enjoy the journey. Like I'll say one thing, going through like 17 years at this point. The light at the end of the tunnel, um, and this is the perspective, just so you understand. The closer you get to the brighter the light gets, and the more stuff you get to see around you.
Mm.
So right now you're in the dark because the light seems like really far away, and it's like a pin light. But
Right.
as you assess, like that light, it gets closer and the stuff that's around you starts to illuminate the things that are around you. So I want you to enjoy the journey. Like I know you're laser focused, and I'm saying yes, keep your eye on the goal, but enjoy the journey. Enjoy the relationships. Enjoy the struggle because
Yeah.
it's going to be part of the story. Enjoy all of those things along the way. Live in the moment. Be present with the eye in the future, but live your best life now as well. Like don't miss out on that. Like I think that was probably one of my best. Yeah, I literally think that in this situation, like my grandfather said it best. He's like, as long as you make your primary profession about Jesus Christ, everything else will fall into place.
Hmm.
And so if that's about building the kingdom, whatever that looks like, everything else is going to fall into place.
Right.
It's all
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I need to lose sight of it, so it's nice to hear it and get back on track.
for sure, man.
That's awesome. I have one more question. If I just one more.
Yeah.
There was something else or something I guess you could have done different when you started all this. Is there anything that you could suggest to me that you wish you would have maybe foreseen or anything like that?
There's nothing you can take away from your personal journey. Like I can't walk it for you. I do
Right.
wish that I had someone like me guiding me, like being willing to do what I'm doing with you right now. Like I know that.
Right.
I had to figure it out. I had to piece it together. I had to constantly, and I'm not saying, okay, Josh is all that. It just took me longer,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Trial
like
and error.
it just took me longer. And so like now that we have this available, like I see you as at some point, I mean, being a manager over other agents,
Yeah.
you know, and like I'm just casting vision right now. Like I just wish I had someone to walk me down the road
Right.
and to be with me when I struggled and to be with me because there were times where, man, like I was just like, guess I better get a job.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
was that prayer, like where in that moment, I'm like, I just prayed. I was like, God, if if you want this to succeed, if you want this to happen, I know it's not like I'm gonna put like crazy stuff. Just like I am not trusting him enough.
Right.
And I'm thinking I'm going to be doing it myself. And that's usually what happens is like when you think you're going to do it yourself, guess what? Let me
No
show you.
kidding.
It ain't going to happen.
Right.
So I'm telling you, like, give credit where credit's due. Like, I wish, like, if I had to do it over again, I would have started with that attitude. I would have started with that. God dreams as much as it is. I wanted to be on his page, not my page. If I would have done that earlier in a better way, I would have looked at my current 17 years as more of a ministry. I do now, but my business is a ministry.
Right.
Like there's not a lot of pastors out there that get to print money and then give it away. They
Very
have to
true.
ask for it. Like like business owners get to like create a harvest based on what God was willing to give them and then put that back into the kingdom.
Right. Go bless somebody else or yeah.
It's it's really unbelievable when you start to think about it. Like it's a very specific class of individual that can do that. And it's part of God's mold and kingdom. It's production. It's amazing. God created us that way. So
Right.
it's a big deal. So like good question. But just as a reflection, I would have earlier, I wish I would have had somebody telling me that specific thing.
Right. Right. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, and then going back to, I always tell you over and over again, I just couldn't be more grateful because I realize, the time you're taking to pour into me and listen to me and answer my questions. It's not something that people get to run across very often with, your experience that you have. So that's forever grateful. I couldn't thank you enough.
Yeah, man. I mean, honor the commitment that God's gonna pin you. And I mean, like your success is directly correlated with how connected you are with God and the effort you put into it.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
working hard, praying, being part of the overall kingdom process, going through the struggle, sticking through it, like that's the stuff that makes men.
Right.
And
Right.
doing that well over time, you know. And the other thing is, probably when I started reading, I know it's your favorite thing to do. Like I hated it. Like I don't think I actually read a book through high school. Like I
Hmm.
would skim it. I would like figure it out. Like, but I'm telling you right now, that sped up my growth faster than anything.
Yeah.
Even if it was like 5 minutes a day to start. Like
Right.
I've got an attention span of a gnat. Hold on.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm done. Like even if you create that small habit, it's gonna be a big deal. And so I'll give some tips like read the first line of a paragraph and the last line of a paragraph. That'll speed it up. It'll make you feel like you're accomplished something, and you'll get the most out of it by doing that. So
Right.
start doing that. Flip through the whole book at first. Get the chapter headings and kind of come up with your idea. Okay, they're gonna probably try to tell me this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Kind of read the heading. Maybe, like you said, read the first sentence, the last sentence, and yeah, get the gist of it.
Outline the book, read the first and last paragraph. If it's something that you're like, I don't think I understand it, maybe read the whole paragraph, but you'll get a lot more content doing that. But leaders are readers. When you start to read, you're going to be more when you approach the public, your comfort level based on your confidence of learning things new and being hungry for knowledge, that confidence is going to show up in conversation. It's going to show up when you're with people. It's going to show up when you're doing those things. If you're being hungry for knowledge and growing yourself, most everybody else, 95% of the population is not doing that.
Right.
So if you want to get yourself to a different level so that God can use you in a better way, you become a honeable instrument that God pours into you by reading the scripture, learning that, like reading, like just being a hungry student.
Right.
5 minutes a day. I mean, if you want a prescription, like here's your prescription. Like
Yeah.
5 minutes a day changes things.
Yeah.
I'm up to hour and a half hours a day now, like just constantly like in my head, like I just tell God, like nobody's gonna out consume knowledge.
Right.
Like I'm gonna be that person that keeps learning, keeps growing, keeps trying to figure it out, push the next level, learn from
Right.
others. The other thing about reading,
Definitely.
reading, reading, what it does is literally lets you stand on the shoulders of giants. So when stuff hits, if you read about it already, you're proactive versus reactive. So
Right.
when something happens to you, if you've already read it and you're like, oh, well, I already know what to do. This person's already done it before. I'll just do that. I
Right.
can't tell you how many times that's happened to me.
Right.
Because I've read something in advance, when there's a emergency, guess what?
Cool, calm, and collected. Yeah.
No big deal. Like this has been handled before. We can just no big deal.
Right.
It's a big deal. And this is what we
Okay.
want. We
Yeah.
want to
I see what you're
attract
saying. I'm
men.
starting to hear that more and more too. More church.
Yeah, for
Go
sure.
ahead. Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yeah, we had a little bit of connection lag, I think. All right, man. Well, hey, like I think this is good. We'll regroup, see if you can get that rescheduled for Thursday. That'll work, and then we'll just keep rocking and rolling.
Let's do it. Yeah, I think this was a very, very juicy meeting, very fruitful. I got a lot out of it. I got a whole page and a half of notes. So I'm gonna start reading all this. I might just go buy that book or get the audio book for that Life for Life.
Yeah.
And I've been doing my reading, but I think I need to start just dedicating some more time to maybe.
Ideal
I'm
week,
doing,
man. Ideal week
yeah,
is perfect. Like just
that's
start
perfect.
setting up the ideal week. Like, okay, I'm gonna do that 5 minutes here. I'm gonna do the 2 hours here, or split it up. Like just create an week and then just tweak it. Don't feel like the ideal week has to own you. It's just a plan to attack against your time.
Got it.
So when you set that up, like, okay, from 5 o'clock on, I'm with family. I'm gonna do lunch here. I'm gonna exercise here. I'm gonna like you build the ideal week out the full 7 days. You can. And then
Right.
you tweak it. And then eventually, I do this every quarter, by the way. Like I reset my ideal week every quarter based on what's up. Because we all only have 24 hours a day. So I want to reset my ideal week against the direction. Or if I've delegated a task and it's showing up in my ideal week and I've taught somebody else, I'm going to take that out of my ideal week and hand it to somebody else. Now that frees me up with another block of time.
Right.
Right. So you're going to get there. I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
ideal week is like number one importance right now because it helps you stay accountable to yourself and tweak yourself.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard that term before. I like that. Ideal week.
Your ideal week is like your time bank account.
Hmm.
If you don't track it, somebody else is going to take it from you.
Agreed.
They're just going to steal the time straight out of your bank. Like they're going to come and steal it.
Right.
And if you don't own it and track it, expect what you don't inspect.
Right.
So once you start owning your time now becomes an asset.
Right.
You hear people say time is money. Time's more than money. Time's wealth. Time is like, okay, this is like, I am not doing anything after 5 o'clock. Like that's my family time. Like you start to plan your priorities, right?
Right.
And you see now, like if you looked at my calendar, it's hilarious. Like I don't do things usually on Friday. Like I just like I don't work on Fridays. Mondays I pour into my team. Eventually, like by the end of the year, like I'm just like I'm out. Like they're
Right.
gonna handle those meetings. Like I've already planned it. That's our plan. But really only being in the business for 1.5 hours a week outside of doing stuff like training new agents and stuff like that, which I love to do. I think it's awesome and it provides a lifestyle for them and others. Like I'll do that all day long.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna as soon as we hang up, I'm gonna do it now. Just schedule out the whole rest of my week.
Yeah, and forgive yourself. Like you're gonna screw it up, but at least if you got it, you know how to handle it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right,
Awesome.
brother.
All right, Josh. And I appreciate your time today.
All right, we'll see you.